Welcome to the Infinite and Beyond, the MIT Alumni Show. I'm your trusted host, Rob Kalwarowsky, MIT Class of 2010, world-renowned executive coach, author, and speaker. Each week, we are sharing the stories with our friends and classmates, fellow MIT alumni who've taken action to shape the world. We'll share what we've learned, top strategies, and bring our community together to help everyone achieve our goals. No, this show is not officially affiliated with MIT, so any views expressed on this show are of the host and guest only. This show is designed to build a community that trusts, connects, and shares with each other so we can all take action towards a better world. Let's get rolling. Alrighty, folks, welcome to the Infinite and Beyond MIT Alumni Show. Of course, we have another special guest, another 2010, of course. The founder of 525, Jason Scott's here. Jason, how are you?
Doing quite well, and thank you for doing these. I've enjoyed reconnecting, I guess, asynchronously and digitally with so many of our classmates. So awesome to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for joining us. And of course, so Jason, if you want to check out his website, it's 525.ca VC, and it's the numbers 525, not spelled out. But Jason's also done an incredible amount of other things at the same time. So he's the co-founder of the Black Angel Group. He's the co-founder of Net Zero Angels, the co-founder of XA Network Africa, and a member of the board of directors of Start Out. So, Jason, how much time do you have in 24 hours?
It's so funny you asked me that. So literally someone the other day, they were like, can you just map out a day? I want to preface by saying all the things I do feed into or support the other things that I do. And so there's a lot, I've always been, I tell this to people, I always have mantras. And one of the mantras I had about probably like 5 years ago was, how can I find activities that when I do a singular activity, it hits resonance because it provides value to a lot of other things. And so it sounds like a lot on paper, but a lot of it feeds into each other. So for instance, when I'm doing XA Network Africa related stuff, it helps me source deals for my own firm, but also helps me help Black Angel Group when they're thinking about their Africa strategy, right? Or when I'm doing some of the work that I do on the board of Start Out, again, it's working to support entrepreneurs. So it's all in the same North Star vision of like what I want to do, but it's just different mechanisms and different tools to accomplish or chip away at kind of the goals that I have. And so no day is the same. I would say spend a lot of time on planes and a lot of time, but that's just me. For everyone who knows me knows that's just who I am. But a lot of it is just connecting to people. Like so much of what I do is ecosystem and people driven, and all of those things you mentioned, they're all community based efforts, right? The foundation of them is a network of humans aligned around a common goal or aligned around a common cause. And so, so much of my day is building the infrastructure around that. And then my current mantra for this year is all around automate, outsource, and delegate. And so a lot of my day is spent around automating, outsourcing, or delegating the things that are needed for scaling those efforts, right?
That's the transition that, I mean, as you know, as a VC, right, is like a lot of founders struggle with that transition.
100%. It's for two reasons. One, like I think there's like a inherent, we trust ourselves more than we trust both other people and tech sometimes. I think MITers trust tech probably more than some folks do, but I think a lot of times we're like, we'll just do it ourselves, we'll do it ourselves when there can be so many things that we can automate in our daily tasks. I think the other thing is having the confidence in understanding the workflows and understanding it enough to outsource or automate it and being able to outline it. And I'm a big operations minded person. I mean, everyone who knew me at MIT knew I was spending more of my time, academic time, doing logistics and of events and programs and stuff than I probably should have been. But at the end of the day, I'm all about like take a process, outline that process, and then how do we streamline that process? And so I apply that in every aspect. And so I think it's something I push a lot of my founders to do, especially because you want to be an early adopter in this stuff, right? You don't want to
100%.
be the person that was left behind that's like 10 years from now thinking about like, how do I automate this, right? And so I think that we really, and again, for people, this is a little bit of a unique call because a lot of people might know me, but I've always been obsessed with superheroes as well. And I think this is one time where you can become a superhero, right? It's like I love when people are like, asking that question, like how do you get all this stuff done in a day? Because I think that's a testament of I'm successfully able to scale myself. And so I tell my founders to think from day one the same. It's like, sure, do it the first time yourself, figure out that workflow, and then outline it, and then think about, okay, within this process, where do I actually have to be in the weeds, or where can I actually use tech or other humans to get it done in a more efficient or scaled way? You know?
100%. I work with my founders exactly the same way. It's like, what are you uniquely special at? And what are you unique? And as part of that, like what drives you? What is the thing that lights you up? And the
Yeah,
rest of it is the stuff that you can start to get rid of. And so,
100%. 100%.
like hiring an EA is like such an easy win. Like there's a lot of things that you can do. I mean, even now, what was I listening to? I was listening to Science of Scaling yesterday.
Hmm.
I forget what the product was, but it was an email client.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, yeah, you just log on and it's pre written responses to every email. And it's not a person, right? It's like it's an AI.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that sounds amazing.
100%. 100%. And again, if you're not early to adopt it, you're gonna be late to adopt it. So like, better become. This is a little bit of an arbitrage opportunity, but better become superheroes now when like people are still wondering like, how do you get it all done, right? Versus being late to it, and when it becomes the norm. And so I've just been really excited about this time because I think we're at an inflection point where um, a lot of this, both access to tech, but then again access to like human resources as well globally, and distributed work teams and stuff is becoming again so accessible to people. Like I have a team, I work with a global team right now, and it's awesome. We're like always on, first and foremost. So I love like waking up and being like, oh wow, like stuff got done while I was sleeping. But then also so efficient, and it's a win-win-win because I'm helping to create jobs and opportunities for people in India and Africa, et cetera. But also they are able to get so much more work done for the amount that it costs. And so it's amazing what you can get done with tech, and also just really embracing talent regardless of proximity, which again is, I guess, aligned with my overall mission. But I think we're just in a time period where you'll see people becoming superheroes. And you'll continue to see that question, like, how do they get so much done? It's just because they're quick to think about how do I make this process scalable and efficient, right?
I thought you were going to say steroids.
I mean, it is. It's the steroids of tech. It's the steroids of tech. It's AI. Is AI and outsourcing and distributed teams, I think, are how you put your business on steroids.
Absolutely. Jason, so for folks out there who don't know your North Star, can you share that with everyone?
Yeah, if I had to say one word, it's access. I think I it would be ignorant of me and lacking in humility for me to say that a lot of my academic and professional accomplishments weren't facilitated by people helping open doors for me or give me opportunities. And when I finished business school, I remember thinking to myself, I think I'm at that inflection point in my life where I want to do that for as many other people as possible. And so everything I do is around creating access. And I think access meaning like it shouldn't matter where you are, where you come from, your pedigree to be able to be successful. It should be about everything, your character as a human, your commitment to the cause that you're working to solve, or your commitment to the effort and your merit, right? And I think that far too often that I see people get access to opportunities through proximity. And so much of what I'm passionate about is how do I eliminate proximity bias, or not eliminate. I'm one person. I'm not going to eliminate. But how do I help combat proximity bias through all the things I was just mentioning, like really just opening doors for as many people possible that I think have the character, have the merit, are just good humans solving problems that I think need to be solved. And I think that's my strength, to be honest. I mean, I learned very quickly at MIT that I wasn't going to be the one curing cancer. From the moment that I plugged in I was in a bio lab once, and I remember I had a lab partner, Kristen Rose actually, who or I guess Kristen Motes, who I plugged in one of our devices backwards, and so the everything was running backwards, and I remember thinking, okay, yeah, clearly this isn't for me, but this is not where I'm going to thrive. But what I do well is again processes, systems, and community. And that's where I like, how do I use that as a tool to create access? And that's pretty much to answer your question very directly. That is my mission. How do I use my skills around, again, both ecosystem building and community, but also process building and operations to really create access for as many people as possible?
I love it, of course. Jason, Like, I know last time we spoke, you were talking a little bit about getting into Brazil, and you're in Southeast Asia, you're in Africa. Where are some of the locations that you potentially could be looking for investments if obviously our MIT community, they've spread globally. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, where are you looking to find, or where are you looking to meet?
Yeah. It's funny because you're it evolves. So when you said that, I was like, oh, it's funny to think about like how my hotspots have some have changed, some haven't. But I would say in short, my personal OKR, I'm also an OKR nerd. My personal OKR is I think of the world divided in kind of 5 regions or so, and I want 20% of the founders I support, the founders I invest in, to be in each of those regions. So that to me allows me to create a portfolio that mirrors the world in terms of like true geographic and community diversity in terms of the people I'm supporting. And so my hotspots within those do tend to evolve. Obviously, as anyone who's has ears and eyes knows that the geopolitical system globally evolves quite often these days, daily, hourly. But obviously, I'll leave North America out of it because those are the hotspots tend to be a lot of the hubs. But in LATAM, yeah, or South America, Brazil, and Colombia. In Africa, I've been doing a lot of Africa lately, as you alluded to, but also just in general, a lot of my time is spent there. My mom actually is actually moving to Africa. This
Amazing.
summer, oh, again, Cape Town, or sorry, South Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya, and Francophone Africa lately. I don't speak French, so it's been a little bit harder, but Senegal and Morocco. Europe has been a lot of course, the UK, but Berlin is a really hot spot. And spending some time there. And then APAC, luckily for me with APAC, Singapore is such a hub. So a lot of my companies, even if they service like Indonesia or Vietnam, or even sometimes like India and northern APAC as well, a lot of them have hubs in Singapore. So Singapore tends to be a hub. But those are tend to be the markets right now I spend a lot of time in. And then, of course, in the Middle East, spend quite a bit of time, also due to family stuff, but in Tel Aviv as well. And so I've been looking at Tel Aviv as a hub and Dubai as a hub for the Middle East. So those two markets quite a bit. And yet to go, but curious to connect with more folks in Cairo and Egypt. I think that's
Yeah.
really interesting startup ecosystem. Again, I just haven't penetrated it yet personally, or spent time there because I try to gain empathy through spending time in these places before I do too much investing, because you want to invest in things that you understand why they work, you understand why people would want to use them or why businesses want to use them. And so I just haven't spent enough time there to have that conviction yet, but I want to.
So if you're listening, folks, go to Antarctica, found a business, and Jason will support you. You'll be the only one.
100%. I would. People know, or I don't know if people know this, I'm a big nomad myself. So in 2016, I did actually take a trip to Antarctica. And I remember thinking to myself, that will be when I really celebrate, when I have truly can say 7 continents. That said, hopefully I, I will, I will also celebrate if I don't say that, because I am worried about what happens in Antarctica in 2041 after all the treaties and stuff expire. Ultimately, if I do get to say I'm supporting a founder in Antarctica or Australia, I don't yet have a founder in Australia either. So I have founders across 5 continents so far, uh, but I would love to. Maybe Australia is a little bit easier, but I would love to have founders in both those places at some point in my life, maybe 50 years from now. Yeah.
Amazing. Jason, I'd love to ask you, like, given that you see companies succeed, like,
Hmm.
what are some of the top three tips that you have for founders and entrepreneurs? Like, a lot of our 2010s are in that space. Like, what are some of your top tips that help people get to that small to mid-sized successful business?
Yeah. The first one that comes to mind is something I say to all my founders. I probably wouldn't say it to everyone because I tend to, like I said, my first filter, and this is obviously subjective, but I always say like I only invest in good humans. But one thing I would say about good humans is sometimes they are a little too humble. And so one of the things I always say to all my founders is be bold and be shameless, because if it's okay to hear the words no or not right now, but if you don't ever ask, you will never hear them. And so you are limiting yourselves in terms of opportunities if you're not actually asking. And that's something, to be honest, like I also used to struggle a lot with. And so I think you have to just, again, mantras. I like say it all the time, and I have it written down. Be bold, be shameless, because if you don't ask, someone else is, right? And someone else is potentially getting that resource. And if you actually think that you are building something that's going to change the world, you should be getting those resources to do that, right? The other thing I say, I'm probably only leave you with two because these are two that are top of mind, and I don't want to dilute those two. But the other thing I say every day, because it is one of my personal mantras since business school when I took this, it's the only thing I remember from this crisis management class I took in business school, but was the day one, the words, in every crisis, there's an opportunity. And I think that that is something that is so true. And I think oftentimes, and I remember even, not to make anything political or anything, but I remember with the election, I remember telling my mom, I was like, okay, well, given it was same night, but I remember saying, okay, given where things are going, like here are the things you should invest in. Here's what we should be thinking tomorrow. Like it was very much back to
And
like
then
how
your mom was like, I'm moving to Africa.
that's so true, but that's actually pretty funny. Yeah, true. You're right. But separately from that, though, I do think that every crisis has an opportunity, right? And I think that if you spend so much time dwelling in the, oh, I can't believe this happened. I can't believe we lost this customer. I can't believe we got this feedback. I can't believe we had this bug. Figuring out, or can't believe all these things out of our control, COVID, et cetera, these externalities are risking our business. Figuring out where's that opportunity in that crisis is, I think, a frame of mind that allows entrepreneurs to overcome, not only just overcome discouragement, but really, again, how do you reframe something in a way that makes the best of the situation in front of you, right? And I think that if we spend too long kind of dwelling in the negativity, oftentimes we miss the opportunity to at least, again, make the most of it. And so I tell myself this every day. I literally tell myself every day, like in every crisis is an opportunity. It seems like we have a ton of crises these days. Can't say that word, but we have a ton. There's a crisis every day these days. Like, what is the opportunity in this? Like, how do I make the most of this? How do I not be left behind because I'm so busy kind of dwelling in those negative emotions?
100%. I am literally writing a book on this as we speak. It's coming out in the fall. It's called Capitalizing on Chaos. But really what it is it's able to getting back to self, your true authentic self. Because when you're there, fear goes away.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're expansive in how you think.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can access innovation, curiosity, confidence, clarity. And then that's when you can problem solve. Versus what you see most times is like, no, the tariffs, we better pull back spending, we better shut everything down, we better try to hold on to what we have.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between people who succeed and don't.
And it's funny that you say that because I was at an event, it's like Aspen Institute event on Monday's dinner, and like people kept asking me like, why are you so like upbeat and like so optimistic? And I agree. I think that exactly what you just said. We have to. I think once you find, well, there are a couple things that are happening. First and foremost for me, I think like we've been through enough to realize like we are smart enough to figure things out, like even in the worst of times, like take COVID as an example. But then two, it's like once you kind of start reframing how you approach these problems, you do feel confident. You do, because you have a strategy, right? And I think there's something about like saying like, okay, how do I make most out of this? What is the opportunity here? Okay, cool. Let me capitalize on this. And then that gives you a little bit of confidence that at least you're doing the best you can with what you have in front of you. And I think at that point, let's execute, right? Because I mean, especially for the MIT network, I mean, I know fewer people who are better at executing than MIT people. So I'd say the problem of just like not knowing, being paralyzed in a crisis that leaves people kind of lost or wondering or not knowing lacking in that confidence, right? But like once you like think about, okay, how do we make most of this? What's the opportunity in this? Then I think you have that you get a natural sense of confidence because you know what the game plan is. You know what you have to do.
It's 100% true. And it's literally just your own mind. It's all about how you see the world and your perspective, because when you change that, that's what takes the blinders off. Otherwise, like there's this expression, it was like a board member said it to Elon Musk in a board meeting, was nobody is creative when they're being chased by a lion.
Yeah.
And it's like when you're afraid, your brain, you lose very significant resources.
Mm-hmm.
And like anybody who's been anxious and you like step on a stage to do a keynote, or you're like trying to pitch an investor, it's like, you're like, oh, shit, what can 100%. I say? Oh no, I forgot my whole thing.
100%.
Right? But if you get there and you get settled and you're feeling good, then you're able to, if they ask you a crazy question or they ask you to dive into something that you weren't expecting, you're there and you're able to respond with the full part of your brain. And that's 100%. Really the magic. I mean, it's not like the solution is, oh, well, don't care and just push through as normal. Like, obviously, that's not the solution.
Hmm.
But when you're able to access everything, that's when you can figure out what the best path is.
Exactly. Exactly. I agree with you. I'm excited to read your book.
Absolutely. I would love you to read it. Jason, I mean, there's so much to go here. And I would just love to say, like, love to ask you, I guess, like I see this a lot with founders, and we touched on part of it, right? Was this ability that they're able to get to, small size, 50 people, a couple $1 million, whatever that is, and then they hit that limit.
Hmm.
What do you see as some of the problems that those folks face from getting from that 50, that small size to actually scaling or being able to be successful as a leader versus more of a doer?
Yeah, very interesting where my brain went initially. So I'm just gonna go there. So when I actually this was before I did it. So before I did MIT, I did a summer program called Mites at MIT. And there was a participant in that program who I'm still friends with. He actually is now in venture as well. He didn't end up going to MIT, but he sent me this book called Never Eat Alone. And in that book is one of the quotes that he highlighted, which is still on my LinkedIn today. It's still like
I
I have
love
done
that
a series
quote.
about it, but it's about networking is about finding ways to make other people more successful. And I think you can say the same about leadership. I think that I've seen so many leaders who are just fantastic executors. They're incredibly smart, etc. But they aren't the one thing that they're lacking that allows them to get to your point, that inflection point that allows them to truly scale themselves beyond kind of what they're able to even like physically monitor or literally monitor, is their ability to empower other people to be more successful and then just like let them thrive in their own kind of scope of work or their silos or whatever. And I think that I wish more leaders had that mindset from day one around my main priority as a leader is finding ways to make all of these people more successful. And it's because it requires a little bit of humility that I think a lot of people can't have feel like they can't have, because they also have to balance that with the confidence that is necessitated when you're like starting an early business and you're like pitching an idea or pitching an MVP that's super buggy to like investors and customers and trying to acquire it, right? And to be able to like kind of like switch that off and go to the humble, like, I want to empower you all to be more successful and let you all thrive and be the stars and let you all kind of own and like yeah, again, be the heroes is a hard transition, I think, for a lot of leaders. And so I think that for me, that is one of the big challenges I see in a lot of founders. And it's because I do early stage. So the stage that you're talking about is exactly where I'm investing. So I think I'm also
Yes.
like just privy to that challenge more so than other challenges, because I'm sure there are other challenges downstream that I'm not privy to. But I think in the earliest of stages is shifting from kind of founder led whatever to delegating those tasks, and then especially when you delegate it 2 layers down, right, to really figure out how do you create a space where you're not the hero in the story, right? And the heroes are your heroes are everyone else, right? And you're just empowering them to be more successful.
We should work together because this is literally what I do.
You paid me to be a plug. No, I'm kidding.
No, but actually, like I have a research paper that talks about what makes somebody successful to raise money to get an idea from zero to a number.
Yeah.
And basically the inverse, I'll share it with you, but the inverse is what makes people successful at scaling, exiting, and selling the company. And so it requires, they call it traits, but really it's psychology. And like I worked with a founder last year. I only worked with him for 6 months, but it was crazy because their company had been stuck at 3 million for the last 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And after about 2 months, he was like almost an Olympic decathlete.
Mm.
So he was basically cut from the same cloth as all MIT folks, like super high performer. And decathlon, right? It's just you. There's no team,
Yeah.
right? And so he's very perfectionist. He has very much, I needed to be the hero. And it was maybe about a month and a half in session, he was like, I'm the problem.
Yeah.
And that was the moment where it was like, okay. And then from then on, it was like, I need to hire a project management expert because I'm not an expert. I do it, but I need to get somebody who can just take that over. I need to hire a sales expert. I need to hire this. We need to create processes for these and train the folks. And then like this year, they're on track to do 15 million.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was like, the pivot was crazy. And they just, the customers were happier because the people who were doing the work were empowered. And then even him personally, like in August, so it would have been, what would that be? 5 months after we started working, he took his first vacation where he didn't check his phone every day.
Oh, I'm drained.
Right. And then it was like in January, he went to Hawaii with his wife and like it just ran smoothly. And it's like, so for him, I mean, the mental load is way better, but also they're 5x in a year.
Yeah. 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 And I think a lot of people try to create, and it's hard because with the world of venture is so like performative now. And there's all the like Forbes around the TechCrunch articles, like all that stuff. So it kind of, the front page of Forbes as well, like all these things that kind of inflate founders as like the kings and queens of their kingdoms, right? In so many ways, or the stars of the show. And I think for me, I've always thought it was like, you're not trying to create a kingdom. You're trying to create like the analogy I always give is like the super friends, right? Like I just want everyone on my team to be superheroes and they all have their own thing that they're incredible at. And together we're unstoppable. And like, that is for me, I'm like trying to create the Justice League. I'm not trying to create a kingdom. Right. And I think that, I don't know which character I am, maybe Batman. No, Green Lantern. But anyway, ultimately, I think if more founders had that mindset of like, how do I create the Justice League where I'm not the star, I'm not Superman or Superwoman. I'm just another member of the Justice League, and I just want to surround myself and create all these folks versus like create a kingdom where I'm the king or queen or the monarch, right? Because I think we just get so caught up in our own egos, we get so caught up in our own the momentum. It feels good. It feels good to like get a TechCrunch article about how you did this or to be Forbes done under 30 or whatever, 40 on 40. And I think that like it requires you to remind yourself to that's not the goal. You see too often so many companies where they get hit this press, crazy, they get all this crazy press, then all of a sudden it's like the company shut down or the founder's in jail or whatever. The goal is not.
Yeah, that was the Fortune, the Fortune covers. It's like SBF and then Elizabeth Holmes or
it's
something.
So common.
They're like both in jail.
It's so common. Luckily, less common with MIT founders, so kudos. But it's still so common. It's wild, and so like I think, yeah. And it's I understand it. We understand human nature, right? Human nature. It's human nature to get caught up in those things. But I think that's where it requires us to like, and if it requires you to have that mantra written somewhere or something, but it requires you to have the ability to remind yourself that you're not the star of the show, right? This isn't you building a kingdom. It's you building the Justice League.
Here's another tip. Well, not a tip, but a secret for folks.
Yeah.
I'm in somewhat of the PR world because people want to pitch me to be stuff, right? When I was writing my book, I talked to a person and he's like, I can get you as a top bestseller on all these lists and get you all these awards, and it's $60,000.
I know. It's crazy.
And so it's not even real.
It's not
right?
real.
So it's not even real. Like
it's not real.
Literally,
and a lot of them aren't real. A lot of them aren't real. To be frank, I'm not gonna insult people who have done it. Like, do it, whatever. But at the same time, like that should not be your North Star as a founder or as an investor. And like, I never get caught up in like, I don't know, any of those lists because like at the end of the day, you get so caught up in the list, you like forget to do the actual work that you're trying to do and forget your mission. And so for me, the satisfaction I get is when a founder or a fellow investor or someone says like, hey, like that deal you showed me or that event you planned, that dinner you planned, or whatever, it really introduced me to one of my best investments or one of my best investors, or thank you for that go-to-market support you gave. Like those types of things where you're like actually impacting people, and those types of testimonials, those types of anecdotes are what give me energy. And that to me is hopefully what that to me would be fulfilling enough that if I only got that for the rest of my life, I'd be incredibly happy and incredibly content with my career.
100%. I do that too. And actually it's funny because when last week's episode, no, 2 weeks ago in podcast world, Julia was on and we talked about building an app to help each other network, right? And it's I talked to Camo about it. He's going to figure. We got somebody in our class that can help us with this.
I'm sure we have
But
plenty of people who could help with that. But yeah.
yeah, and so it's like basically, the more I thought about it, the more it was like, oh, this should be fairly easy. Because I ask everybody I meet, I ask them, who do you want to meet, or like, what's an avatar of somebody you'd like to meet, and then basically like I manage it in kind of a spreadsheet or my
Yeah,
own
yeah,
brain, and it's not great and I
yeah,
forget, obviously, but then every once in a while I think of somebody, I'm like, oh, and then I make 10 introductions in a row.
yeah, 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 yeah.
But I want to make something for, and we can just start off with 2010s, right? But you put in like, who you want to meet, and then you put in some descriptions or people's names or LinkedIn
Mm-hmm,
profiles of people that that are helpful for other folks,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
right? And then we can create some sort of way that we can facilitate connections where, because Camo said he has a spreadsheet too.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a lot of us that have these things and we're connected to a lot of people that are high level folks.
Mm-hmm.
And like I'm willing to help people get there. I just, I'm limited to my own brain, and
Yeah,
I
yeah,
want
yeah.
some tech help with this.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, for sure. Um, yeah. I mean, I'm big on that. I mean, obviously, like I said, my whole career is built on creating ecosystems and networks. So yeah, I think that and I think that there's a lot of magic, particularly in the MIT. Obviously, I only have a couple of, I guess, alumni communities to compare it to, but I think in the MIT community, there's something magical about that intrinsic motivation and curiosity for just like solving hard problems and learning and like doing it together, and that I you don't see as much elsewhere. And like, so I think for me, I would love that. I mean, I love working with MIT people. I love investing in MIT founders. I love co-investing with MIT investors because I think there's something in the water there. Now that they've cleaned up the Charles.
It's going to be our new Facebook.
What is that?
It's going to be our new Facebook.
Oh well, yeah. Uh, hopefully less just posting pictures from vacations. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But I think it would be really cool. I mean, in general, I love that you're doing these podcasts too, because I think it really reminds people to reconnect. Because I think that's the downside, I would say, of the MIT world is I feel like they're a little less intrinsically motivated to like do the networking thing and stuff. I get really excited when I see something that's about like bringing MIT people together.
Totally. So, Jason, we have to ask you then, who are types of people or like an avatar of a person you'd like to meet?
I mean, in general, I always say like just globally minded people. I think like there are almost two camps of people. There are a lot of people that think like the world of tech revolves around. I'll broaden it to say the U.S., but I'll specifically say Silicon Valley or Boston, basically, right? And I think that like there's so much out there, both in terms of like talent, but also in terms of opportunity. And opportunity, I mean, to not only make money, but opportunity to have such a positive impact on the world. And so people who like believe that, globally minded, good humans, I guess is how I would say it, whether they're founders or investors or operators, I think at this point in my life, I have a no that, or I have a only good humans policy. So I'll leave it there. But ultimately, people who believe that there is, and this is the tagline for my company, but there's a world outside of Silicon Valley, right? I think that it is wild to me how many, maybe even the majority of people still think the world of tech revolves around Silicon Valley. And I think that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if we all believe it and we all feel like you have to move there to be in tech, or like it drives me wild how many like entrepreneurs in other countries are like, I have to go to like move to the Bay Area just to like build for my country back home. Like it's just wild to me, right? That drives me insane. And so I think that people who just fundamentally believe are aligned at least with that philosophy that there's a world outside of Silicon Valley. I'm always happy to co-conspire to to change the narrative a little bit.
Amazing. Now, Jason, what's your biggest goal at the moment, and how can the MIT folks help you?
I mean, I feel like I'm repeating myself a little bit, but I think my goal has always been around, like I said, like distribution of everything, distribution of wealth, distribution and access to technology. I love connected with MIT folks who are building for instance, the global south. And I have, for instance, one of my companies that has been able to compress their computer vision models to work not on iPhones, but on like phones that actually you would see with like mom and pop shop owners in Senegal. So people who are just passionate about access to tech, distribution of wealth, connectedness, and especially in this current time when we're just being pushed into our silos, and like you see it again locally but also politically, geopolitically, it's like kind of this like insular vibe or like a tribal vibe. And so my mission, my goal is to kind of counter that, right? Like kind of prove to people that like we can be globally minded. There is a lot of opportunity and positive impact in being globally minded. And so my mission is to again counter our natural inclination as humans to like stay in our silos or stay focused on our local communities and really think about the world as a singular community, and like how can we create more efficiency there, right? And like more access there, more channels for people to connect and also move. I always say my thesis is around movement of goods, people, and money. So how do you like move goods, people, and money across borders?
Amazing. I love it. Jason, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show again. For folks out there, why don't you give us just a little spiel about where folks can find you, follow
Yeah.
you, connect with you, and share their potential business ideas with you?
Yeah. I would actually say the easiest is probably LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, I guess. Less from a promotional standpoint, but I like the idea of using it as a networking platform to like really connect people. So definitely there. You can email me anytime. It's just Jason, JASON at 5, the number 5, and then spell 2, TWO, and then the number 5, .vc. And then the website is actually just, well, any permutation, but the one you said is fine. Like the number is 525.vc. And always happy to connect, truly. Life would be boring if we didn't have connection. So always excited and try to be as responsive as possible to folks when they reach out. So happy to connect with anyone, even if you don't believe that there's a world outside of Silicon Valley. I'm still happy to connect. Wrong, but yes, always if I can be helpful, believe strongly in paying it forward. So I'm always happy to be helpful because your network is only as valuable as the value you put into it. And so that is, I'm going to stay with me for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe in a world outside of Silicon Valley, although somehow I'm in it.
I was going to
I
say
don't
the
believe, but I'm
backdrop
somewhere.
begs to differ. It's like that's not Silicon Valley that I'm seeing behind you, but yes.
Yeah, I'm right next to Stanford right now.
Yes. Those are the palm trees. You're right. I see the palm trees.
It's like the toucan flies by.
I love it. But yeah, truly, like always happy to connect. So yeah, people can reach me on any of those platforms.
Awesome, folks. Jason, thank you so much for joining us, Sharon. Obviously, folks out there, connect with Jason. For us, hit subscribe to the show. Obviously, if you're part of the MIT 2010s, we'll see you in May, and we would love it if you shared the show with other 2010s. Also, if you want to come on the show or you know somebody who's part of our 2010 community that should come on the show, you're welcome to send them my way. So you might email rob@robkalwarowsky.com's in the podcast notes, or you can hit me up on LinkedIn. I know my name is hard to spell, so the links are all there. Everybody else, yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you all next week.
Thank you for having me.